Hello and welcome to Things We Like to Eat. Today we're going to make mozzarella cheese. The basic things you need to get started with mozzarella cheese are pretty simple. You need a gallon of milk, a couple of large pots and pans, a bowl, some rubber gloves because the cheese is going to be pretty hot, some cheese salt, which is really just a coarse grained sea salt or a kosher salt, citric acid, you do need a thermometer, a timer, a couple of measuring cups, a colander, and a slotted spoon. Getting started with the cheese making, we do use one ingredient I didn't mention in the introduction. It is a product called rennet. Rennet is an enzyme taken from a cow's stomach. Now, in modern days they do engineer this in the lab. It's available at most health food stores, and it'll either come in a tablet form or it'll come in a liquid form. If it's a tablet form, use about 1/4 of a tablet per gallon of milk. What you'll want to do is just go ahead and take your rennet tablet, put it into cold, unchlorinated water. Now remember, the object here is we are going to make cheese, and we're going to want these enzymes working, and chlorine kills enzymes. While we're at it, we're going to go ahead and add the citric acid to 1 cup of cold, unchlorinated water again. And stir that up. In cheese making, we want to make sure everything's clean. So start off with a clean pot and pour your entire gallon of milk in the pot. The milk then goes on the stove over medium heat, and it needs to come to a temperature of 85 degrees Fahrenheit. As you can see, I use a digital thermometer. However, you could use any thermometer that you happen to have that is food safe and measures between 85 and 120 degrees. When the milk reaches 85 degrees Fahrenheit, we are going to go ahead and add the citric acid solution and stir it in. Now it's time to pour the citric acid into the milk. And we want to stir that for about 20 seconds with a slotted spoon or a whisk. Over the next 5 minutes, the milk's going to begin to curdle, and when the milk reaches 100 degrees, we're going to add the rennet. The mixture's reached 100 degrees, so I'm going to add the rennet in. I'm going to stir that for an additional 30 seconds. And from that point, we're going to go ahead and raise the temperature up to 105 degrees Fahrenheit. And then we are going to cover the cheese, or cover the curds here. Remove the curds from the heat and just let them sit for 15 minutes. While we're waiting, we can get a few things ready for the next few steps. We can go ahead and get a large pot, put a couple of cups of ice cubes in it, and 1/4 or 2 of water. We're going to use that to set the cheese. We can also go ahead and get our colander, put inside of a microwave safe bowl, and we can measure out our salt. I use about 1 teaspoon to 1.5 teaspoons of salt per gallon of milk. You can use more or less according to your taste. Some people like flavored mozzarella cheese, and popular flavoring is basil. If you've got fresh basil around, all the better. If not, Lighthouse brand makes a wonderful freeze-dried basil. It's much better than regular dried basil. You can mix in 1 teaspoon to 1 tablespoon of that in with your mozzarella cheese when you add the salt. This is exactly what we want to see. The solid substance in the middle are curds, and the yellow liquid, you can see here, is whey. We are now going to start separating the curds and the whey. We do that by taking the slotted spoon, gently now, we want to be very gentle with the cheese curds, and lifting them up, letting them drain as much as we can, and transferring them to our colander. We're going to repeat that process until we've removed all the curds from the whey. After we've gotten all the curds out of the whey and into our colander, we want to take our slotted spoon and start to gently push down on the curds, trying to get as much of the liquid out of the curds as we can. We're done with the slotted spoon, so we're going to move it back over into the whey. And now we're going to take our hands and push just gently on the curds. And as you can see, there's additional whey starting to seep out of those. We want to get as much of it out as we can. Just doing it nice and gently. We're not going to fold them over or anything yet. We're just going to push on them a little bit just to get the excess water out, the excess whey out. Now that we've gotten most of the moisture out of the curds, we want to go ahead and move the curds to a plate. And as you'll see, we have a huge bowl of whey. We're going to pour that whey back in with the old whey. And then we're going to transfer our curds into the microwave safe bowl. Transfer the bowl with the curds in it to the microwave and microwave on high for 1 minute. At the end of that minute, go ahead and make sure you have your gloves on. Remove the bowl with the curds in it from the microwave, and you'll notice that you've got more whey seeping out. So what you'll want to do is just pour off that additional whey. Then we're going to start kneading the cheese. As you knead the cheese, you'll see additional whey is starting to come out. You want to go ahead and fold the cheese over on itself, and then periodically pour off that whey. Now, if the cheese begins to cool, you may need to microwave it some more, but do it in about 30-second increments so as to not to go ahead and cook the cheese. You just want to keep it warm. As you're kneading the cheese, it'll start forming a ball. Then you want to start squeezing it out and folding it back on itself, kind of pulling it longer. This is the time you also add your flavorings. The only flavoring we're going to add today is salt. Just add it right on top. Move it across. And make sure it gets worked into the mozzarella as you knead it. Now, what's going to become important here is that you don't overwork the mozzarella. You have to make sure it stays warm. If it cools off too much, it's going to start crumbling like this is doing. It's time to put it back in the microwave for a few seconds. And then take it out and start kneading it again. As you can see, the mozzarella is starting to look like mozzarella cheese. And just keep stretching it out longer, folding it over on itself. And when it gets to the consistency you like for the cheese, you want to start forming it into the ball. It'll start getting a little bit glassy. You don't want to overwork the cheese or it'll become tough. The only exception to that might be is if you want to keep it for a few days, to age it a little bit in the refrigerator to grate up and put on pizza, you might want it to be a little bit more dense than fresh mozzarella cheese that you're going to serve the same day. There we have it, a mozzarella cheese ball. Look at that. It's nice consistency. You want to make sure it'll look, when you push on it a little bit, it'll leave a little bit of your fingerprints and spring back. We don't want to work it too much more than that or it's going to get rubbery. So form it into a nice ball shape. And then, if you want to, this next step is purely optional. Go ahead and just put it in cold water for about 15 minutes and it'll set that shape. Well, here's the finished mozzarella cheese ball. I'm going to cut off the inaugural slice. See how it tastes. It is delicious. Okay, until next time on Things We Like to Eat, this is William Burnett. You have a great day and enjoy your cooking.